All right, so we're ready to start. So welcome to the panel on scaling to 1 million users and beyond. So today we have a panel of experts in the space that will be sharing different strategies to scale your product and services to millions of users around the world, all right? And we're gonna cover from strategy to UI UX and to accessibility to technology barriers, and you gain a lot of alpha from them as well. So first, let's start off with a roundtable introduction of each speaker and a short introduction about your team and your project, please.
So I'll start. Charles, leading product team for MiniPay. MiniPay is a dollar stablecoin wallet, especially built for emerging markets. Launched last year and built on Cello. Yeah, excited to be here.
Hi everyone, I'm Claire Card. I'm the CMO of Aztec. We're Privacy L2 on Ethereum, heading into testnet. I'm also the founder of GTMCon, the first conference and community for crypto native marketers. And I started my career in fintech, doing like very early stage marketing, and yeah, ended up being in a company that like IPO'd. So really big fintech success story, and love thinking about launching products to new users.
Hey guys, my name is Jay. I'm currently the CMO at Eco. We're building stablecoin infrastructure, simplifying how stablecoins can go on-chain to on-chain applications. So we're pre-launch. So you'll hopefully hear a little bit more of us once we get closer to launch in Q1. Most recently was leading marketing at Avalanche for 4 years. So that took up a lot of my time, I would say, in recent memory, but excited to be here.
Awesome. Hey guys, I'm Deep from Gnosis Pay. I lead the growth there. And Gnosis Pay is like an on-chain bank account with a debit card that allows you to spend your crypto like self-custodially. Previously, I've always been around early stage startups. Started my first company at 17, which was bootstrapped, and have then worked in like venture-backed startups for about 7-8 years. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
All right. And I'm Sirada Lovipat, Investment VP at Gate Ventures, your moderator for today. So let's first start off with some of the key questions. Like, what are some of the pain points that all of you have been facing in scaling your product to millions of users, and how are each of you addressing them, since all of your products are adding unique value to the OpenFi ecosystem? So let's do like a roundtable sharing startup. Yeah, let's start with Charles.
Yeah, so at Opera, we're in a bit of a special position because we have a large distribution already in emerging markets, and especially in Africa. So for us to scale this wallet with this very simple user interface is, you know, we have a bit of an unfair advantage there. But at the end of the day, you need something that's very simple to use. You know, typical wallets today, they try to do a lot of things and be a Swiss Army knife for all the chains, all the swaps, all the coins. And I think the key really is simplicity. And for us, it's focusing on a payment experience, using phone numbers and using dollars essentially on the blockchain.
Yeah, so for us right now, like I mentioned, we are pre-testnet, pre-mainnet coming up soon. So we're still in that experimental stage where builders are really trying to find like product market fit. You know, what can you build with this? What is the value proposition for customers? A little bit outside of like, you know, finance and DeFi, but right now we're seeing a lot of uptake around like kind of identity solutions. So I think the biggest challenge for us is helping the builders connect that narrative into actual consumer desires and wants. And I'll give an example. ZK Email is like a verifiable email platform built on top of our solution. And, you know, I think the team is thinking about, well, it's zero knowledge for email, right? And I'm kind of like, that's great and I'm happy for you, but no one cares. And, you know, why don't we tell people, hey, you'll get 99% less spam? Like, would you respond to an advertisement for an email platform that told you we're gonna get 99% less spam? Like I would, because that's the problem that you're solving for customers. So I think for me, it's all about connecting it into what big problem are you solving for customers, and literally like hitting them over the head with it, because you know, onboarding flows are still difficult and like the tech is still being worked out, so the value proposition has to be super strong.
So before I put my take on, I'll connect the dots a little bit. So Charles and I worked together back 6 years ago. He was still at Opera, and we were trying to collectively make basically like an interface for dApps, and that was when it was very cool to call it dApps, and really bring that to market as quickly as possible. That didn't work as well as we had thought. and Charles has a lot more insights there, and so that was really cool. So we're kind of reflecting on that. Now, fast forward a few years ahead, Claire and I got connected because we were trying to solve the same issues when we were in our kind of marketing headspaces, really lean teams. What is everybody actually doing? What's actually the thing that's going to drive results? I think leading that into the take, I think there's a huge herd mentality that happens in our space. And oftentimes, it might not actually be the best path forward. And so I think people like us, especially more on the traditional marketing side, our role is really to try and question, is this actually impactful? And like the values-driven approach is a perfect one. I'm seeing that more and more and more recently, and it should have been probably the top piece of conversation since the beginning of this industry, but perhaps because of just the mania that ensues typically during like these types of bull markets, people often forget about what they're actually here for and actually how to sell these products. So kind of going back to the basics, I tend to find is super, super impactful, especially if you come from traditional marketing backgrounds. Overlay that obviously with our niche, our audience, our focus. What is the tech actually trying to do? Is it B2B? Is it B2C? And really go back to the product as well. Is the product actually good? Is it actually selling something that is, or is it actually solving for something that is actually needed? Otherwise, marketing can only do so much, and we can raise the bar with brand and awareness, but no one's ever going to convert. And so I think in my recent experience at Avalanche especially, we learned that kind of the hard way. We did do the short-term tricks a lot, not like anyone else didn't, but we certainly did. And then when we really dialed down to, okay, how do we actually convert developers? How do we actually build that funnel out? What's that story we want to tell? We focused on unlimited, create without limits. Sorry, I'm a little rusty on what we actually made, but create without limits, this idea that there's no limits to what you can do as a developer, and that's the brand story. And then we kind of bring it down to what does that actually mean from the values-driven approach that Claire just aligned. So just kind of came to mind as you guys actually spoke that out.
Makes a lot of sense. And just to add to Jay's point, right, like I think one of the issues that the industry is facing right now is we're kind of building on an island, like very far away from the real world users, and we want to kind of still build products for the people on this island, right? And the marketing is also focused towards the people on this island and not to the people that are on the real world, right? We're not simplifying concepts. Everything is so technical, and we need to kind of reach the users where they are, not get them to you, right? And I think that's something, if we can solve as an industry, both on a product and a marketing standpoint, we will really see adoption. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think like to kind of like sum it up, like taking a product from 0 to 1, it goes down to basic on like what is the user's problem, like taking the user-centric approach, like you said, and creating good stories that solves people's problem as a painkiller that users need your product, right? Not like shoving it in their face, like, hey, you need my product, right? Like things like CK lock-in and like simplifying payment solution, these things are like creating actual values, and that's what make users like crave for your product, right? Because they're really solving their problems. So now that all of you kind of touch on like the simplifying users onboarding journey, I mean, we've all heard, right? Like just using MetaMask, setting up like Web3 wallets, that's quite an annoying journey already, right? And bridging like stable coins and stuff. So how are each of your products simplify the onboarding journey to like convert users easier?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll start. Well, our product is very simple because it completely abstracts away the key management part, and you basically have just a button, which is log in with Google. So we have a very kind of Web 2-like wallet creation experience, and we don't call it that. And I think, in general, crypto products are very explicit about the technical details of the underlying architecture, but we try to make an effort of speaking in ways that users can relate to that. So we have this Web 2 login experience. You cannot bring your own keys, but you can certainly export them. And once you have your wallet, we really have worked hard to make this buying dollars experience simple and localized. So we use local payment methods with local partners, and have amounts that also people can afford to enter at, even as low as $1. and really try to abstract away the complexities of different coins. Yeah, so I think that's really the focus, is abstracting away the plumbing and keeping this a simple Web 2 experience, but with the full power of Web 3 key management.
Yeah, I can go next. I mean, for us, the mantra always has been to not alter existing user habits, right? Like, kind of reach them where they are. So for us, think of us like almost like an on-chain neobank. So onboarding is actually very high friction for us, right? Like, because users have to KYC before they kind of get on the product. We also use like a login with email kind of model where we create a wallet for them in the background, a KYC provider that kind of gives a very quick response. And then once you have the account set up, you can add funds to the card or like to the bank account through like a regular bank transfer. So we've integrated with an on-ramp or like a central bank, or a stablecoin issuer like Monerium, which like you can make a simple Revolut bank transfer to the bank account that we have. So we have a safe which has an IBAN number attached to it. You can do like a regular bank transfer, and your on-ramp would be instant, fee-free, 1:1. So our philosophy is to not have like any boundaries between like Web 2 and Web 3. We want to stop using Web 2 and Web 3 as terms because there should be one, right? And users should not know what they're doing anyway. So those are some of the things we are doing to kind of simplify onboarding and user experience. And I think we need it, like ASAP.
At Eco, our view for simplicity is kind of what Charles said, where you don't actually know that you're using the product. It, from technical terms, would be considered middleware. I often use the example of Plaid. I think Plaid has done actually a very good job with marketing by showing you what it is, but most people couldn't really explain to you what it does in the back end, except for the fact that it accepts your bank account, or it allows apps to accept your bank account. And so from our perspective, our belief is stablecoins are an asset that will continue to grow and likely be one of the top assets on chain. The biggest problem that we're trying to solve right now is not so much on and off ramps. There's a lot of players playing in that game. They're trying to actually tackle that. That's kind of been more or less satiated from a problem-solving perspective since the beginning of stablecoins, or even beginning of protocol tokens, actually. And then from our perspective, it's more the stablecoins to on-chain apps. Stablecoins are used as hedges, which are great, but why can't you actually use them like dollars? And so from our perspective, the biggest issue is the 101 chains that exist and potentially the 101 stablecoins that will exist. So if you can simplify all of that into one simple transaction, it doesn't matter what stablecoin you pick. You might have a balance of 10 different stablecoins across 10 different chains. You should be able to go to an application. The application should be able to say they only want to accept one stablecoin on one chain because of simplicity's sake, and you have Eco sit in the middle and basically route that through in one seamless transaction. The back end is there's market makers, and there's a bunch of other technical stuff, but not worth explaining right now. And I think right now the phase that we're in is, in order to find simplicity, in order to find that product market fit, we truly do have to validate and talk about this as much as possible. So from my role, it's more about how does the story resonate? Like I tend to find marketers are like professional storytellers. If your story doesn't hit, you're a bad marketer, you're not a good storyteller. And then also you can actually apply that same line of thinking with the product. Is the product actually surprising and delighting? Is it actually doing what it's supposed to be doing? And Charles and I were catching up earlier before, but I think in the beginning of on-chain applications, people often tried to boil the whole ocean. They really tried to tackle everything. And that didn't help at all with validation, and that actually confused all of us, including the operators ourselves. And so I think the simplistic use case to start, and then hopefully if the SDK approach for our side works well, then we can actually start to incrementally add more features that then continue to provide value to the user, and then hopefully on my side, I'll be able to tell the story a little bit better, and that's at least the goal.
I'll quickly build on what Jay said about like boiling the ocean. So, for us, because we're earlier than the other projects represented, I'm always telling like our DevRel team, my marketing team, like the developers, product, I'm like, look, and I know the title of this panel is scaling to 1 million users and beyond, but I'm like, what do the first 10 users need, And sometimes like the engineers are like, oh no, like everyone's going to use this. And I'm like, well, sure, but like, are they all literally clicking the button at the exact same time? Like the entire world is going to use this instantaneously? Like that doesn't make any sense. So, you know, people come in waves. You have your early adopters, you know, we all know the curve. And so I'm always just trying to get them to focus on those really, really early adopters, because we're never going to get to the rest of the curve if we don't get the early people. What do they need? What can we learn from them? Building relationships, getting in the trenches with them. Like, if you don't literally know exactly how they are looking at your flow and what problems they're facing, and you could like narrate it, you're not doing your job. So because I'm more of like an early, you know, project person, product person, marketer, I'm just always hyper focused on like, if we don't know exactly the pains our users are facing, we can't solve them, and then we can't onboard those 10 people, and then we can't onboard the 100 and the 1,000 and the 10,000. So I just like to think about it in those increments and try to be really disciplined, because engineers are so passionate about what they build. That's why I love working here. But that can kind of snowball to where it's like, you know, it's for everyone. And frankly, it's not, right? Like product market fit is a slog. So get in the trenches, do the slog.
Yeah, so I think that's a very like good responses from all of you on like how our products using like account abstraction and simplifying user journey, ZK login, working with early adopters, pilot testing to know exactly how they are onboarding to your product. So you get different techniques. So now moving to more of the broader scale, such as like partnerships and ecosystem building. How are you building the partnerships to expand your product to scale across different regions and across different countries, be it like from maturing market to emerging markets? What have each team been like investing in, like user education, and can you give some examples of some partnerships that help you grow rapidly, as an example?
I can like jump in on this really quickly, and again, I'll caveat again that we're early, so my experience in Aztec is not going to apply here. But having been a marketer in the industry since 2017, and having been in tech before that, I think the biggest thing that's hurt our industry in terms of partnerships are all the like empty logo for logo announcements. And I would just, if all of you are marketers at your projects or whatever your roles are, anyone who's like listening or going to watch this, like let's stop, because it is hurting our credibility and is taking our time away from really focusing on real adoption, real partnership, the 10 users who are going to use you, right? So if you're like, oh, we announced this big empty partnership, I mean, I just think people are onto it at this point. I don't even think it does the brand pop anymore, because people are just over it. So my thing is I am like substance maxing. Like we need the substance, and we need it now. So, you know, hot take, but a general takeaway, like I'm very over it and I really want to see it stop.
Fully agree, fully agree.
Yeah, and we have something very concrete actually, because we have this other app called Opera News, and just an example of a very real partnership that's bringing real value to users is we have this app called Opera News. There's thousands and thousands of content writers for this app spread across the world, and we wanted to use MiniPay to pay them, right? So how do you pay thousands of people in different places directly with stable coins using their phone numbers? And that's where we partnered with a payment company called Mural. So Mural is a partner of ours, and we use Mural to basically do this payouts to thousands of people directly in their wallet. So for them, they get dollar value, they get the speed, and it's just better for everyone, right? So that's a very real partnership, and you know, I fully agree with you that there's too many logo plastering going on, and you know,
all real partnership announcements are allowed. That is encouraged. That is encouraged and allowed. It's just all the like random ones that probably won't ever happen. That is not allowed anymore.
We're not in 2017 anymore.
Some people still are though. Some people are mentally still there. So yeah.
It was a good time. It was a good time though. Going on this train of substance, I think I'll take it a little bit differently, more towards the audience segment. So people, marketers, they talk about know your audience. What does that actually mean? I think I take that pretty literally to the point where I'm not an engineer. Eco is a perfect example. Avalanche was also another good example. our target audience is developers, to kind of sit on the armchair, so to speak, and say, hey, I know how developers work. That's never going to work. So you really speak with them. We're in a very lean mode. You can actually talk to them very directly. You can message them. You could hop on a video chat. They can be all the way across the world, and you can actually connect with people. And I think the real challenge for marketing is, of course, to do substantive marketing and substantive logo lockups, but also, I think it's also there to solve problems that people have, hopefully using marketing strategies or marketing executions, whether that's content, social, maybe something even creative. Robin, we were talking about this. Her firm at Serotonin made this wonderful portal for events for the week, so if you haven't used it, here's a plug. But if you remembered back in the day, the thing that people used was Google Sheets, and people still use that. There's nothing wrong with those, but that was clearly a problem that needed to be solved. And I'm not sure Google Sheets is really the answer, but for some reason it was the answer for far too long. And then the Serotonin team came in and said, well, internal objective is we need more clients. We probably need other things that I'm not certainly aware of, but we need more industry folks in our reach. And maybe we can kill two birds with one stone by actually creating this portal that's actually usable and a little bit more useful than or a lot more useful than the Google Sheets themselves. And whoever actually goes to market first on that is going to start to take the cake much more quickly. And I think that's a really good example of using marketing as a way to solve problems while also staying true to your brand. And I think that's something that actually a lot of people are doing these days, which is really awesome to see. And we were talking about how our vertical is like heating up a lot these days. And I think marketers, I think we're in a marketing renaissance as well. Maybe I'm also biased, but really excited to see what kind of creative responses companies in our industry come up with when it comes to marketing-based solutions.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to Claire's point around like more substance-driven marketing and partnerships, right? At Gnosis Pay, we're in a unique kind of place where we have, like our product is basically an amalgamation of like a lot of different companies kind of coming together. We're working with Visa, we're working with an EMI institution, which is like the issuing bank. We're working with a stablecoin issuer. We're working with, for example, a KYC provider. And on the marketing side, we have a bunch of affiliate partnerships. We are doing B2C and B2B. So on the B2C side, we have a lot of partners whose users would be really like happy to use the Gnosis Pay card. So one of the partnerships that we had was very recently with Zerion, where a lot of their users got a special deal on the Gnosis Pay card, which worked really, really well, like much better than most performance marketing ads we've done or most other distribution channels, because we kind of had a very highly qualified audience and our CAC was really low then. And so that was one thing that comes to mind. The other thing that was creative was for the first time, we did like each CC printed like edition, like special edition cards. So everyone who was at each CC got like a bunch of 1,000 cards with a special logo printed, which also worked really well. People were super excited to have that. So I think there is so much room for like doing innovative partnerships. And yeah, I think once you have a product, I think if you are substance driven, there is so much to do. And the field is like open. Yeah.
I think that's like really great point raised, that we're not just like building narrative, right? All we heard like Web3 marketing, like building narrative before you ship product like in a year or things like that. So it's great that we also heard like some examples that bring real results and traction as well. So this one is like close to final question. So looking forward, what are some of like the key milestones and vision, let's say for the next like 2 to 5 years, of how you bring your product and tech to serve millions of users around the world, from like developed markets to maturing markets to emerging markets to area that lack like limited access to traditional banking for like financial inclusion? Yeah, what are some of like your key milestones, and are there any alpha leaks that you can share to people to stay tuned for?
I have a hot take here. I feel like we're so far away from getting million users on chain. Like we're so far. My prediction is, from my informed guess, is that we don't have more than 100,000 active on chain users. That's about it, and everyone's
Real
just
users.
wanting that. Like real users and like unique users, not wallets. And I don't think there are more than 100,000 right now, and everyone's trying to fight for the same ones. So we need to 10x that number to even reach 1 million, and we don't have enough apps with really good UX that kind of serve that 1 million. So I think we're still far away. Like a lot of products say that they have like 10 million users, 100 million users. I bet that's not true.
I think for me, like we're at this interesting time right now, even at this conference, we're seeing prices go up, we're seeing media coverage increase, like search increases, right? Like we're in a bull market, and it's not just a bull for price, it's a bull for eyeballs. And I think for me, like the big thing is who is gonna have a badass crypto product that consumers use that they don't even know it's crypto, because like, who cares? So when we look at like Polymarket, right, I think that's a perfect example. And yes, they talk about how it's crypto and all this stuff, but people aren't going there because they're like, oh, I love crypto, They're going there because they're like, I'm interested in this election, there's some drama here, it's the US presidential race, and I can bet on it, maybe I'll make some money. And they're being entertained by it, right? They're enjoying themselves. So for me, like I just want to see us get away a little bit from, we all work very embedded with engineers. It's very easy to be very attracted to like that. The tech is so amazing. The tech is so amazing. Connecting it back to what I said at the start, what is the value for users? And if users don't care that there's crypto underneath, why do we care about that? Like, what is the judgment? So I would just encourage everybody to like take a look at why a user might like your product. If it has nothing to do with the fact that it's crypto, or if that message isn't what's gonna hit with them, maybe the crypto enables something cool, tell that to them. So my big thing is like, we have a real opportunity right now, more interest, more eyeballs, like let's capture it in a way that consumers are responding to versus trying to like shove the crypto message when it's not being received.
Guess how many users Polymarket has right now? Like monthly actives.
I don't know.
100,000.
Not more than 100,000. I checked like Dune data, but this is Dune data, but they don't have more than 100,000.
Fair enough.
And this is like the biggest Web3 app right now.
Anyone want to add?
The biggest app in crypto is stablecoins, right? And that has much
That's
more
true.
than 100K MAUs, certainly across all chains. And I think that's going to continue to be a very dominant app in 2025. Yeah.
I think for us on the eco lens, it's just allowing for more points on the board.